Mark Gatford for the Sportsman. We're here with Kevin Barry, trainer of Joe Parker. We've got the announcement today that Joe has joined up with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Sport. Talk to us a little bit about what kind of doors Eddie's going to open.
Well, we hope he opens a lot of doors for us. That's why we've signed with him. When Joe's promotional agreement expired with Duco, I think the timing was right for us to make a change. We met with all the main players, and we've been working closely with Eddie for the last 18 months, and very successfully. And we were aware of how professional Eddie and his team is, how driven they are. I think he's the hardest working boxing promoter in the world at the moment, and we wanted to be with somebody who had energy and who had vision, and we thought it was a perfect fit for Joseph Parker for this next phase of his career.
You spoke about Joe being more of a mature person and a mature fighter. Can you give us a little more insight into what you mean by that?
Well, I think now he gets the fact that he has to stay in shape. He was a young guy who had enormous talent and was having a lot of success with natural talent. He was training hard when he was in training camp, but between training camps he was living the life of Riley. And I think we'd got to the stage where we'd got all the way through to the world title with him training like that. And now there's he had got to the world title, he had fought in a huge unification fight, he knows what it feels like at the top now. He also had other changes in his life. His wife just gave birth to their third child, so they've got 3 children, the oldest is 2, and that has been a massive impact because now this is not just about him anymore. This gives him drive and purpose. This is about his 3 girls. So with that, and also now this is the first time ever that he has come back to training camp on weight. He'd quite often come back 20-25 pound that we'd have to get off before focusing on the skill work. For him coming back straight into camp and weight, it's enabled us to hit the ground running, and it's he's a happier person in the gym. I think it gives him more respect for himself that now he's living the life of a professional full time.
Earlier this week, you were good enough to send me a couple photos and videos of Tyson Fury training over in your gym in Las Vegas. How's it been having Fury in camp? Is he going to be using your gym in preparation for his fight on, I think it's June 15th?
Well, he came in that day. We've always had a great friendship with Tyson and his team. My son Taylor had been in contact with Ben Davison a lot, and they had asked to come into the gym and see us, and it was a lot of fun having them there. Whether he's going to use the gym anymore, I know that they came in with about 10 of their guys, and every one of them to a person said, "Oh my God, we should train here. This is fantastic." We have a very nice gym in Vegas, and I think they had fun being there. We've got a basketball shoot in there. We've got a ping pong table. We've got one of those punch machines that comes down, and so we've got a little bit of fun in there. And I think all the guys appreciated that. As well as having all the necessary equipment in your gym, you've got a few things that just help you relax and chill. And
who's dominating on the punch machine? Is it Joe or Tyson?
No, Tyson didn't actually hit it. Joe's got the record in the gym so far. Yeah.
You mentioned that Joe gets on very well with Tyson as friends. Do you think they can become enemies in the ring down the line?
I don't know. Look, if that fight was ever possible, I'm sure that they'd put their friendship aside for business. But I think there's I've seen Tyson being quoted several times saying, with the friendship he has with Joe, he'd never want to fight him. So, obviously the fact that we beat Huey defending the title, a couple of years ago, we sort of thought, well, that's a fight that might happen one day, but we'll see.
On to the fight we're here in New York for, AJ versus Andy Ruiz. We spoke on the phone earlier this week. You gave us a really good analysis of Andy and gave us a closer insight to what we can expect from him. One thing you did mention was that Joe said that he thought that Andy actually punched harder than AJ. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Which is really funny because I know Andy hits hard because I've seen him knock a lot of guys out, and I actually did a little bit of work with Andy before I ever started with Joe, and then right at the beginning of Joe's career, I took him in to spar Andy, and the first time they sparred, Joe, I'd taken Joe around town, and he'd sparred a bunch of heavyweights, and done well, outboxed them all, and then I took him to Andy's gym one day, and he's looked at this little short guy, and I said, Joe didn't know who he was, and I said, don't be fooled by the way this guy looks. And Andy beat him up for like about 4 rounds, and but this was the first year of Joe's professional career, and then I took him back, and they sparred 6 rounds a second time, and then I think Joe won 2 or 3, and Andy won the rest, and then the third time I brought him back, Joe boxed the ears off him, and which was a great learning experience for him. But we know how hard Andy hits, and I remember Joe telling me even after the Joshua fight, and I said, how was his power? And he goes, to be honest, he said, Andy Ruiz hit me a lot harder than Joshua hit me. But it's crazy because, like, in saying that, we look at Andy fighting Dimitrenko, and Dimitrenko is a shadow of the fighter that he once was. Joe had Dimitrenko down 4 times in 3 rounds. Brian Jennings had him down a couple of times in his last fight, and Jennings can't even punch. And yet Andy hit him flush for 5 rounds and couldn't put him on the ground. So I don't know there's something amiss there.
And finally, Kevin, Andy Ruiz win is out at 9-1 with William Hill back in the UK. Do you think the Andy Ruiz win is beyond the realm of possibility?
God, look, I think Andy won't be afraid. I think we will get all he has, and what I see as a huge advantage for him is the fact that he's just gone back-to-back training camps, because that's what he needs to be doing, because it's inactivity that's killed him in the past and enabled this, his weight gain, and so I think that I think he'll obviously come in a lot lighter than the Dimitrenko fight where he weighed 262. Can he win? Yes, of course he can win. But we know that Andy closing the distance with somebody like Joshua is going to have to eat a lot of leather. And it's just, whether he can take that punishment for 12 rounds remains to be seen. There's not too many people who have been able to stand in there for 12 rounds with Anthony Joshua.
Kevin Barry, thank you for speaking to the Sportsman.
Okay, cheers.